Hi, I'm Sarah Lemer. I'm the head of the molecular lab at the LIB in Hamburg. So I think I always knew I wanted to be a scientist or a biologist. I grew up by the ocean and I had many questions about everything around me. Why is the sky blue? Why is the ocean blue? Why are animals the way they are? And it was really hard to find answers because nobody in my family is a scientist. So very young, I decided this is what I want to do. And then I got really interested into marine organisms, especially shells. So I started collecting shells on the beach and having small collections at home and organize them by their shape. I didn't know a lot at the time. And yes, I think this is where it all started. Mm-hmm. I went to university to study biology because at the time I didn't know if marine biology was really a career. It was something that you watch on TV. I was looking a lot at the Cousteau movies or documentaries. So I first started with biology. And then while I was studying biology, I discovered molecular biology and genetics. So I got really interested in this. And then I found out that I could combine marine biology and molecular biology, so studying how animals evolve at the genomic level, so in their genomes. And so that's what I did. And I went along and did a PhD in marine biology and molecular biology. And then, I continued in that field. So my research interest is in studying biodiversity, marine invertebrate biodiversity, so how it evolved to what it is today, why is it maintained the way it is today, and how it is affected by environmental change through time, natural or caused by human. And I look at the molecular level, so genomes, transcriptomes. So this is basically the code of life. So it records everything that happened throughout the species' life. So we can see when it evolved, where, what changed it through time. Did the population, decrease because of some geological event? You can think about tectonic plate movement, creation of new habitats, or destructions of new habitats. So all of this gives us an indication of how well species are adapted to the environment we find them now. And with this kind of information, we can predict how they will react to what is going to happen in the future or what is happening right now because of global climate change. So the idea is really to be able to, first of all, know most of the species that we have right now surrounding us, what is their role in their ecosystem, and how are we affecting them. And ultimately, the question is, can we do anything to mitigate the effects of climate change or environmental change or pollution or habitat destruction? Yes, for example, I'm really interested in shells, so bivalves mostly. So these are oysters and mussels, and the diversity in the shell forms and structures, because this is really linked to where the animal is living. So if you live in the deep sea, or if you live in the shallow area and you're exposed to tides, so sometimes during the day you're out in the air, so you need a shell that is able to really be tight so you're not exposed to air. Shell color diversity. Some of these colors are important for the fitness of the animals. Sometimes it's not important at all, it's just random. So some questions that I'm asking is, why are these new character traits here? How did they evolve? Did they evolve because they give some advantage to the organism to survive better? Or is it just random and it's just now for the pleasure of our eyes to see all those different shell colors? So these are the kinds of questions I ask myself. And to answer these questions, I look at the genetic data, because everything that you see, so your phenotype, everything that you see on the outside is coded by your genotype, which is your genetic code. So if you have a shell that is brown with red stripes, this is in your genome. If you have a shell that is white with a black stripe, that's also in your genome. So you can see the difference at this level. So in addition to my own research, I also manage the molecular lab here at the LIB with a team of 3 technical assistants. And so our role is to help our colleagues develop their own research projects, help them with new protocols. And for example, if they are interested in next generation sequencing, which is looking at a whole genome instead of a gene, that means the sum of all the genes in an organism, we can help them develop these specific protocols that are a little bit more complex and also guide them later down the line in their analysis. So, I work mostly on the biodiversity of invertebrate animals that live on coral reefs. And as we know, coral reefs are threatened by global climate change, by urbanization, by overfishing. And so we are losing a lot of this biodiversity. And this is really important because we don't even know exactly everything we have right now. So we're losing things without even knowing they were there in the first place. And so it's really important to keep track of how things evolve to where they are right now and how they will be affected by changes in the future, environmental changes in the future. Also because coral reefs are, although they are only less than 2% of the ocean, they are very, very important for the community where they are located. So they provide habitat for a lot of animals, and such as fish and, oysters and a lot of animals that we feed on. And those islands community depend a lot on coral reefs to sustain themselves. It also offers protection against typhoons and tsunamis. And usually when you have a reef, you have a nice beach. And so this creates a lot of tourism, a lot of income for those countries. So the loss of coral reef is really bad in general, the biology and the ecosystem loss, but also for us as humans, especially for those island communities there. Okay, so there's multiple challenges. I think one of them is that science is evolving very quickly. So you always have to stay on track and make sure that you are up to date with the new techniques, especially in molecular biology. So it's a job where you constantly have to update yourself and your knowledge. You cannot just rely on what you learned at university. It also includes a lot of multitasking. So you're not just working in the lab, for example, you also do field work. So you need to either, if you're working like me in the ocean, be able to dive. If you're a terrestrial biologist, you need to, go spend weeks in the jungle. Not everybody likes to do that. And there's a lot of bioinformatics work as well that, at least for me, I was not trained in at school. So it's something that you have to learn as you already have a job. So these are the challenges, really in terms of what the job is about. Another challenge is that more and more government and people want applied sciences. So science that will directly benefit the society or human, like medical science or things like this, or technology, which is, I think, very important. But there's also all this fundamental research, basic science that doesn't directly affect us, but it's going to take many years until something comes out of it for us human, but it's still very important. For example, knowing what are the species that surround us is not going to change our everyday life, but it's still part of a knowledge that we need to know and that is important for a whole society as well. And then, of course, science, although it is changing and it's getting better every year, science is historically a man's world. And so as a woman, especially in the field, it's not always easy to be taken seriously. You need to find your own voice and you need to make yourself respected and you need to work a little bit more than people that are not women. But I think, like in every society, having a diversity of people helps with, having new ideas because, some people are raised to think one way, and if you bring in women or if you bring more diversity of people from different culture, then you're going to have more discussion, and that usually brings to more ideas and novelty. So that's really interesting. A lot of the science is also advising and teaching, forming new scientists, and you also get a diversity of methods if you have more women in the system. So it's just having diversity in general. I think men, women is a problem, but also people from different culture, from different country working together and collaborating together, I think creates a more rich and interesting science.